in Messiah. And Psalm 119 gives us a focus on what our works maybe should be. And so, because we learn in James chapter 2 that our faith without works is a dead faith. Faith without works is dead, he says. So, we know that we have to have Messiah. Faith and Psalm 119 gives us a focus on what our works maybe should be.
We got that worked out?
Because we learn in James chapter 2 that our faith,
what I left off,
works, we know that we must have both faith and works. It's dead, he says. So salvation doesn't happen by works.
We know that we have to have Messiah alone.
And it requires. And Psalm 119 gives us a focus
then I realized
on what our works. We had recently read Psalm 119 not very long ago.
Okay,
we learned in James chapter 2
that
our faith.
So what I left off,
we know that we
must
have both
Facebook
pages
that
dead. He says
focus on biblical
salvation
subjects,
doesn't happen by works.
We know that we have to have Messiah.
So many people are really struggling. And Psalm 119 gives us a focus.
Then I realized
what our
problems.
Some of these people are constantly asking for prayer for one kind of problem or another. I mean, life is very complicated. Yeah, I got to admit that most of them are women, but there's still a lot of men that come on there, and they have similar problems too. But they keep asking for prayer and all these things. They say things like, "My life is full of grief because fill in the blank." People have made up a lot of lies about me, for instance. They've suffered so much over, again, fill in the blank. They would say, "Well, I fear for my life." People harass me for no good reason, some of them say. Well, Psalm 119 is, in fact, a great place to go for help, with some of these issues that people have. There's a lot of stress. We all felt these emotions at times. It's nothing really new. There's always something that comes up. We maybe even know someone that may be going through some kind of trial that's sapping their mental strength or draining their well-being. In other words, it's really, really hard for them. And I believe that King David most likely wrote Psalm 119. And as usual, it is an unusual alphabet psalm, where each of the consecutive 8 verses begins with a letter in the Hebrew alphabet. With all the challenges we find addressed in Psalm 119, David found strength and encouragement and real help from some of the precepts and the laws of Yahweh. And so can we. So, try not to forget about Psalm 119 when things are not really going well in your life. Now, I'm not going to delve into Psalm 119, but it's just a resource for sure. But to keep going here, we all have unique challenges, talents, worries, opportunities, but the Bible has practical help and real hope for us. And what I want to do on this subject of hope is to start with something it seems that everyone longs for, and that is hope. That's the reason I have this title this way. Hope that things will go well for us in life. What does Yahweh offer as an antidote to the depression and the hopelessness that spreads around the world? I mean, there's a lot of troubles going on today. We're even talking about nuclear war. That's in the forefront of the news, if you can imagine such a thing. What comes to my mind is Matthew 24, where it talks about wars and rumors of wars. All these things have got to take place. But we're in a time now where it's really serious. It is getting worse as the months and the years go by. It's not getting any better, that's for sure. Life today is more complicated than it's ever been in the past because, there are so many things that in life that we have to deal with. Life is not uncomplicated like it was 100 years ago. At one of the darkest times in history of Judah, Yahweh gave a message through Jeremiah. It's in Lamentations 3:22. It is through Yahweh's loving kindness that we are not consumed, because his compassion does not fail. They are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness. Yahweh is my portion, says my soul, therefore I will hope in him. Yahweh is good to those who wait for him, to the soul that seeks him. It is good that a man or a woman should hope and quietly wait for the salvation of Yahweh. The element is patience. Jeremiah wrote in the poetic book of Lamentations because of this mourning over the fall of Jerusalem, the city where Yahweh's temple was located. It was in the middle of the destruction that Jeremiah recorded those words that we just read. The words of hope. And this kind of hope is not just wishful thinking, but it's a sincere expectation that Yahweh will do what he has promised. This is where faith comes in on this. This is where, yes, exactly that, faith. So, one of my many reasons that we have the Scriptures is to give us hope. The Scriptures, of course, is the Old Testament, for those that might not realize that. But I want to pick up at Romans 15. Romans 15, verse 4. Now, we're going to be going through a lot of the Scriptures here, but we're also going to be reading some amount from the New Testament also. Romans 15:4. For whatever things that are written before were written for our learning, that through patience and through encouragement of the Scriptures, there we go, that we might have hope. And of course, that's the title of this. From this we learn that part of the purpose of the Bible is to help us to develop endurance and give us encouragement so that we can have hope. Romans 15, verse 13. Now may the mighty one of hope fill you with all joy and peace and believing, that you may abound in hope in the power of the Holy Spirit. The Bible gives us hope because the Elohim of hope, the mighty one, Yahweh, recorded it for us. When things seem hopeless in this present evil age, as Paul puts it, Yahweh gives us hope that allows us to have a good, solid anchor, if you will, in times of need. The writer of Hebrews had this to say, Hebrews 6, verse 13. For when Yahweh made a promise to Abraham, since he could swear by none greater, he swore by himself, saying, most surely, I will bless you, and I will surely multiply you. Thus, having patiently endured, he obtained the promise. For men indeed swear by a greater one, and in every dispute of their oath is final for confirmation. So when Yahweh desired to show more convincingly to the heirs of the promise the unchangeable character of his purpose, and he guaranteed it with an oath, verse 18, so that by two unchangeable or immutable, however word you want to use there, two unchangeable things in which it is impossible for Yahweh to lie, we who have fled for the refuge might have strong encouragement to hold fast to the hope that's set before us. This hope we have as an anchor of the soul, a hope both sure and steadfast to entering into that which is within the veil. That's figuratively speaking of the veil of the temple. Whereas a forerunner, Joshua, entered for us, having become a high priest forever after the order of Melchizedek. So what makes hope possible? Romans 5, verse 3 says, not only this, but we also rejoice in our sufferings, knowing that suffering works perseverance, and perseverance, proven character, and proven character, hope. There's that word again. Verse 5, and hope does not disappoint us, because Yahweh's love has been poured out into our hearts through the Holy Spirit that was given to us. The love of Yahweh shows believers that even troubles, those troubles work for our ultimate good. We learn from the things that we run into in life. It shouldn't be any surprise that this is so, but it's part of life. Just hang in there and things will change. Patience is a virtue in life, and we have to have patience. And life is life. You have to deal with it as it comes. Sometimes things get tough. A lot of times they smooth right out. Sometimes it's a surprise how things do go well. Romans 8:28. Just one verse here. Well, actually, there's a couple more coming, but Romans 8:28. We know that all things work together for good for those who love Yahweh, to those who are called according to his promise. Just think about that. We're called according to his promise. Not everybody's called, by the way. When we love Yahweh in return, he can make everything, even the most difficult circumstances, work out for our eternal good. When we're going through these trials, it might be good for us to remember this. And it's still in Romans 8, it's in verse 31 here. Paul says, what then shall we say to these things? If Yahweh is for us, who can be against us? And again, back to the word faith. So when Yahweh, the one responsible for the creation of everything, when he's for us, we can count on that fact. All of our enemies are just simply powerless to stop him from blessing us. No outside force can keep that from being a blessing, even though we may not understand why things are going bad, or at least they seem to be. So basically, Yahweh understands our problems. Hebrews 4, verse 14. Hebrews 4, verse 14. Having then a great high priest who has passed through the heavens, Joshua, the son of Yahweh, let us hold tightly to our confession. For we do not have a high priest who cannot be touched with the feelings of our infirmities. In other words, the problems that we have. But one who's been in all points tempted as we are, yet without sin. And that's, just implying that, we should not sin even under the duress of our problems that we may be having. So verse 16, it says, let us therefore draw near with boldness to the throne of grace. With boldness to the throne of grace, that we may receive mercy and may find grace for help in the time of need. We have to lean on Joshua and pray to Yahweh. So be encouraged. You know, Joshua experienced the pains and the sorrows of human life, you know, and the same temptations at a different time in life, of course, 2,000 years ago, to do the wrong things, the wrong kind of things that we often face in this lifetime. It'd be similar. He understands us and knows what we go through. Yahweh has given us the priceless privilege of being able to come boldly before Him in prayer in all of our times of need, which is just, you know, very, very comforting to know. So what are some of the benefits that, you know, of Yahweh's way of life? Well, let's turn to Psalm 103. Psalm 103. We're going to learn about some of these benefits. Verse 1. Praise Yahweh, my soul, and all that is within me, praise His holy name. Praise Yahweh, my soul, and do not forget His benefits, who forgives all of your sins, who heals all your diseases, who redeems your life from destruction, who crowns you with loving kindness and tender mercies, who satisfies your desire with good things, so that your youth is renewed like the eagles. Yahweh executes righteous acts and justice for all who are oppressed. Yahweh forgives us and wipes away the burden of guilt in a way that no self-help program or psychiatrist could ever do. It literally is a priceless benefit that Yahweh, Yahweh's power to heal our minds and our bodies, to satisfy our needs, to protect us, to strengthen us. These are the things that people spend their fortunes on, searching around trying to find a way, when Yahweh, in fact, fulfills these things in a way that, nothing else can. No drug or chemical or anything. Sometimes we need those things, on short order, but, faith in Yahweh is the key, the bottom line. Yahweh looks out for us, and He looks out for those that follow His commandments, as no human being has the power to do on their own. The rest of this psalm contains many other benefits, but I want to pick it back up on where we left off on Psalm 103, verse 7 now. He made known His way to Moses, His deeds to the children of Israel. Yahweh is merciful and gracious, slow to anger, and abundant in loving kindness. If you believe, He will not always accuse, neither would He stay angry forever. He has not dealt with us according to our sins, nor repaid us out of our iniquities, for our iniquities. For as the heavens are high above the earth, so great is His loving kindness toward those who fear Him. So there's a key word there. We are to fear Him. Yes, Tom?
Verse 12 that's coming up, verse 12, you as a pilot can probably particularly appreciate this. Many of you may know this. Verse 12, Psalm 103 says, as far as the east is from the west, so far has He removed, talk about hope improving in our lives, removed our transgressions from us. You can go north, and eventually you'll end up going south. You can go south, and you can end up eventually going north. But if you start going east on this planet, this is what the Scriptures convey to us. You're always going to be going east.
You don't believe in the...
That's how far apart it is of His loving mercy.
Well,
that'll give us a lot of hope.
That's a great example, but you don't believe in the flat Earth? You don't believe the planet's flat?
Not yet.
Just kidding. Okay. So he read verse 12. I'll read verse 13. Picking up in 13. Like a father has compassion on his children, so Yahweh has compassion on those who fear him. This fear is an awesome awareness and understanding. It's not fear like being, afraid of, someone attacking you or something like that. It's not that kind of fear. But, Yahweh has the power to save and destroy. So, it's in other words, the opposite of that is just obedience, to obey him. Verse 14, for you know how we are made. He remembers that we are dust. We come from dust, the elements of this earth, and we're going to go back to dust one of these days, because everybody's going to die. It's part of life. The Bible gives us key to just a much happier relationship with others. Proverbs 15, verse 1, just one verse, you don't have to turn there. It says, a soft answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stir up anger. The natural tendency when someone speaks harshly is for us to respond back in a kind like that. In other words, they speak harshly to us, we speak harshly to them. Solomon here points out that this only escalates the conflict. It's just going to make matters worse. So thinking before we speak and choosing a non-confrontational tone can help calm any situation. And I'm also, talking to myself here, because I get involved in things and wish I, say things that I wish I had never said, and escalate strife. Strife is not good. Romans 12, verse 17. A few verses here. Romans 12, verse 17. Paul writes here, it says, repay no one evil for evil. Respect what is honorable in the sight of all men. If it's possible, as much as is up to you, be at peace with all men, with all people. Do not seek revenge for yourselves, beloved, but give place to Yahweh's wrath, for it is written, vengeance belongs to me, I will repay, says Yahweh. Therefore, if your enemy's hungry, feed him, and if he's thirsty, give him a drink. For in doing so, you will heap coals of fire on his head. In verse 21, do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. As I was putting this together, I thought, well, what a lesson to be able to get along in life and to help solve your problems and to keep from creating problems that come along. So in Romans, Paul was paraphrasing from Proverbs, actually, and we can see Paul also provides us with some tips for getting along with problem people, because there are problem people out there. We may work for them, or they may live in our own house. Feeding an enemy may not be a natural response, but that might be part of the reason that may surprise or disarm your enemy. Overcoming evil with good is a powerful human relations principle, given to us by Yahweh. So, the Bible gives us some really helpful advice for Job. I'm sorry. Job is spelled J-O-B. I'm talking about Job. Yeah. I just, I wrote it out and I never really thought it might happen that way. The Bible even gives us helpful advice for job success. That's what it was supposed to be. Oops. Oh, well. That's one of the problems. I have to write all my stuff out, so I got to read it. And but anyway, hopefully it does make good sense. That's the whole key to it. Proverbs 6, verse 6. Proverbs 6, verse 6 says, "Go to the ant, you sluggard, consider her ways, and be wise, which having no chief or overseer or ruler, provides her bread in the summer, and gathers her food for the harvest. How long will you sleep, sluggard? When will you arise out of your sleep? A little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the hands to sleep. So your poverty will come as a robber, and your scarcity as an armed man." There's some really good Proverbs. It's exciting. Okay. And then I've got Proverbs 10, verse 4. Just one verse. It says, "He becomes poor who works with a lazy hand, but the hand of the diligent brings wealth." Solomon uses a great analogy of the industrious ant as a lesson of how to succeed in life. Employers look for diligent workers who go, above and beyond and improve their skills and their work, whether the boss is watching or not. In other words, when you're working for a company, and in my lifetime, I've worked for very few employers. I was self-employed most of my life. But that was the way I would see the people that would work for me. I mean, I really would go out of my way to help anybody that would put a little extra work in. Anyway, so these are the kind of workers that are, in demand the most, and as a result, they will likely have, greater job security as such. Tom, you were first.
I'm not going to hope to embarrass you by saying this, but years ago, when I was the maintenance director at the College Inn, and you were the one who handled our HVAC thing. I don't think I ever told you this, but the general manager and my stepfather, who was the assistant manager, said, we need to keep Bob Widmer there because he shows more personal initiative than anybody else we've had that came here and did this kind of repair work. See, without overseer, it's not just sloth, it's without overseer. It's got personal initiative. I had a little ant farm for my children when they were little. It's a little glass thing, and you can see the little cross section. And you see how there's different ants, and their culture like bees. And some of the ones that, without anybody going and telling them what to do, they've got, by the Creator, it's been hardwired into their little tiny ant brains to go about and show personal initiative. So that might come back not to haunt you, but to bless you to hear that you had a client that thought well of you because you were doing what it says here in Proverbs, the 6th chapter.
Well, enough of that, Tom.
I said I didn't want to embarrass you.
Well,
but another man praised your name and says.
All right. Curtis?
In other words, be found so doing should the master come.
Right.
You're just continuing it, yeah. So you said,
Really? That's
continue
right.
so doing till the master comes. That's right.
Returns.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
we're always supposed to put out our best effort. But the idea is that we shouldn't spend a lot of time fretting over the things in life. There's a lot of stuff out there that we have to take care of, whether it's the bills we have to pay or the money that we don't have to pay the rent and all these other things that come along. But just have patience, do your best, put out your effort, and Yahweh will take care of it. Does anybody else have anything? Okay. So Solomon uses great analogy of the industrious ant as a lesson of how to succeed in life. Employers look for diligent workers who go above and beyond, improve their skills, and work hard, whether the boss is watching or not. And these are the kind of workers that are very much in demand. The Bible gives principles that can lead to financial security, such as Proverbs 22, verse 7. It says, Proverbs 22, verse 7 says, the rich rule over the poor, and the borrower is servant to the lender. That is a fact of life. It is so simple, but it's just common sense. So if you can work in that direction, then your financial situation will probably be a lot better than it would be if it, the opposite. The rich rules over the poor, and the borrower is servant to the lender. Our buy now and pay later society has forgotten this principle, but avoiding debt and paying back what we already owe is a key to security, financial security for sure. Living within your means is also something to consider. I'm hoping a lot of us are already on this track, but this stuff sneaks up on you. How many people can say that they're out of debt? I don't want to see any hands or anything, but the answer is not very many. Now, I'm not talking about something like a home mortgage. That's pretty typical that people have a mortgage. And I'm talking about things like credit cards and unnecessary things that we really think we need, that if we're in a bind, we'd be better off without. There's a time and a place for everything. So think of how much cheaper things would be without paying interest. That's why in Denton, Texas, where I am, there is a bank on every corner. And what do those banks thrive on? Interest. They're making lots of people lots of money, but somebody's paying a lot of interest, So, sorry, that I just feel like going on about that kind of subject, because that really is a problem for almost everybody in the United States. So the Bible is full of practical principles that offer help and the hope with every kind of challenge that can come our way. Yahweh's way works in this life, that we're living right now, and His plan offers incredible promises for our potential life, which is to come. In other words, our future everlasting life, the everlasting life that He offers, for His children. And I hope the sampling of wisdom from Yahweh's instruction book has given you some food for thought. When the pressure is on and things don't seem to be going so well for you, here's how we can apply what we've learned. It's in 1 Peter 5, verse 6. 1 Peter 5, verse 6. It says, "Humble yourselves, therefore, under the mighty hand of Yahweh, that He may exalt you in due time, casting all of your worries on Him, because He cares for you. Be sober and self-controlled. Be watchful. Your adversary, the devil, walks around like a roaring lion, seeking whom he may devour." And it can be using some of the things that we're talking about here, that we've gone over so far, to promote that. Yahweh cares, and He wants you to throw all of your cares on His almighty shoulder to carry. Take your problems to Him in prayer, and that's the vital first step to getting help when you need it. The next step is to believe that you will get Yahweh's answer, and He'll be and will be whatever His answer is, will be best for you in the long run. Turning our problems over to Yahweh in the name of His Son does not mean that we won't have to do the counseling, the hard study, the decision making, and all those things that go on within life. But knowing that the most powerful being in the universe cares about us and will help us to take, a huge load off of our minds. We have to remember that it also takes faith. We've covered that a little bit already. But, we have to have faith in that. We have to believe that things will work out in the long run. And they generally do. So we left off reading Psalm 103 a few minutes ago, and I just want to finish this off by reading the rest of the story. So go back to Psalm 103. We'll pick it up in verse 17. It's not very long now. It says, Yahweh's loving kindness is from everlasting to everlasting with those who fear him. His righteousness to the children's children, to those who keep his covenant, to those who remember to obey his precepts. Yahweh has established his throne in the heavens. His kingdom rules over all. Praise Yahweh, you angels. Your ambassadors, basically, is what this is talking about. The ambassadors of his, who are mighty in strength, who fulfill his word, obeying the voice of his word. Praise Yahweh, all you hosts of his, you servants of his, who do his pleasure. Praise Yahweh, all of your works of his, in all places of his dominion. Praise Yahweh, my soul. So the point in all this that we've gone over is that I hope that what we've covered gives you hope. And the hope that we've covered today is not the hope of the world at large, but it's the hope that a much higher level than what we find in the dictionary. That's it for today for me and for the study. And we'll be back at 3 o'clock. I'm a little ahead of schedule for a change. But anyway, we'll be back at 3 o'clock. See you then.